Hey folks, Serdar here, and in this episode of Dev with Serdar, I'm going to take a look at a feature that's new to Python 3.12, the Monitoring API. This is a powerful and low-impact way to add profiling or debugging mechanisms to your code, or to Python generally. In Python 3.12, we got a new feature as outlined in PEP 669 called Low Impact Monitoring for CPython. And this introduced a new API for CPython, the Monitoring API, that allows the developer to hook certain events at the interpreter level. Now, right now, the API only supports hooking 16 types of events, but they are all very powerful and very useful. They make it possible for you to write sophisticated inspection tools that kick in not just at any one predetermined point in the code, but any of a whole class of points, like any function call. So here's a simple example. I want to set up a function that runs whenever any other function in my code is called. It'll trigger when a function starts, and it will provide me with access to that function's code and stack frame. So I've got an inspector function that I've written here, which I call onCall. Now, to use the monitoring API, we need to take a few steps. The first thing we need to do is reserve a tool ID. This is a way to take all the behaviors that we want to instrument and group them together so they can be managed collectively under a single label. And the default tool ID is the debugger ID, and that's perfectly fine for what we're doing. The number for that is 0, so we'll use it, and we will use the friendly name onCallCheck for this tool. Next, we want to set up our callback function, and we use the tool ID, the event that we want to hook, which is PyStart, and the function that we want to use as a callback. And we use all of these as parameters to register the callback. And then finally, we enable callbacks for this event, PyStart, which is called at the beginning of every function call, and we set that up using setEvents. Now, when we run this code, our main function will run, and that will trigger our monitoring hook. And our monitoring function will dump a bunch of useful information about that called function to the console, including the function itself as a code object, its position in the code, and the state of any local variables when it starts. That last one, by the way, we got by inspecting the stack frame. We have the entire stack frame for the function available to us. We could get many, many more details than this if we wanted to. The point is that we don't have to decorate any one function to get information about it this way. We have access to every function's behavior. We don't have to either change our code. All we have to do is set up monitoring hooks before the body of the code runs. Our original code remains completely untouched. And that's the way debuggers behave in general. So it falls in line with how debugging mechanisms are supposed to work in Python and in other languages too. Now, there are bigger plans for the monitoring API over time, and they include possibly adding more hooks and having third-party tooling for profiling or debugging, making better use of it. And that means the performance hit that we normally get when profiling or debugging can be made a lot smaller because the monitoring API is highly efficient. So in the meantime, if you're using Python 3.12 or looking into using it, you can experiment with the monitoring API to see what kinds of insight it can give you and how it can give you those things in a very streamlined way. So that's it for this episode. If you liked it, leave a comment below, and don't forget to follow Dev with Serdar and InfoWorld on Facebook, YouTube, and Infoworld.com.